Good evening and welcome to the Education Report. My name is Kathryn and tonight we will be discussing the influence of a teacher's gender on classroom discipline. If you heard the statement, male teachers are naturally better at classroom discipline than female teachers, what would your initial reaction be? We took to the streets to find out.
I think that male teachers are better than female teachers because too many children today growing up in all female families and they're not exposed to men.
In my early days of teaching, I would say that students would say to you then that the male teachers were the tougher disciplinarians and that the female teachers were more soft and nurturing. And that was probably due to family dynamics back then when the role of the male in the family was the disciplinarian in a lot of families and the female was the soft nurturing role. And that sort of, when the students came to school, they were a bit wary of the male teachers because of that perspective.
I don't think they're naturally better at discipline. I think the teacher itself, it depends on their attitude towards the kids, whether they can instill discipline in the children, rather than whether they're male or female.
In my experience, the teachers who demonstrate the best classroom control are those who set clear expectations and then enforce these consistently across the whole group, while acknowledging and accounting for individual needs. I have witnessed many terrific teachers, female and male, who do this successfully.
It is evident from many of the responses given that gender stereotypes play a huge role in how male and female teachers are perceived in the classroom. We will now cross to Caitlin Larkin, who has more.
In today's society, our students are dramatically influenced by aspects of the media and the ways in which men and women are being presented. Typically, men are being associated with the role of being the head of the family, taking on roles of power and influence, whereas women are being seen as homemakers and related with the softer, more nurturing tasks. With these stereotypes being heavily presented in the shows and in our roles within society, it is not surprising that people assume that men are naturally better at classroom control. Perhaps it's because of their naturally stronger voices and more intimidating physique that these generalizations have occurred. While this is changing in many aspects of today's society, as women begin to branch out into more professions which were once seen as a man's job, we are still seeing a higher prevalence of men in roles with power and influence. Julia Gillard was Australia's first female Prime Minister, but even still she did not have the same respect from members of society as a man would have had. The same might be said for the respect of female teachers.
We'll now cross to Lisa, who will tell us about the influence of student-teacher relationships on classroom discipline.
Do students respond better to teachers of the same gender? Evidence suggests that students themselves have no preference for teachers of either gender, and that teacher-student gender matching makes little difference to student achievement or attitude. For instance, an investigation by Lahalma found that it was teacher competence which was seen by students as being more critical than gender. Furthermore, the qualities students valued in teachers were not specifically attributed to gender, such as being fair, considerate, and having a sense of humour. Another study of the perspectives of 7 and 8-year-old students revealed that the teacher's gender had little impact on the perceived quality of classroom experiences. For example, in response to the question, "Does your teacher treat everyone in the class fairly?" 73% of boys taught by women replied positively, compared with 71% of boys taught by men. This shows that having a male teacher didn't necessarily have a greater impact on the male students, despite popular belief that boys benefit more from having male teachers. Although of note, in 2005, Martin and Marsh found that when dealing with personal issues, students held a slight preference for teachers of the same gender. On the other hand, gender can impact the way teachers relate to students. Interestingly, in a study by Spilt, Kuman and Jack, the most conflictual relationships were those between boys and male teachers. They contended that this was the result of power struggles between male teachers and male students because both are biologically disposed and socialised to strive for autonomy and dominance. Teachers can also have their own gender biases which may affect how they treat students. For example, there is evidence that teachers tend to be more tolerant of dominant and autonomous behaviours in boys, whereas they respond more favourably to calm and submissive behaviours in girls. Some research indicates that teachers typically don't consider the characteristics or learning styles associated with the gender of their students, nor do they adjust their teaching styles accordingly. And so perhaps the question we should be asking ourselves is whether teachers respond differently to students of the same gender, rather than whether students respond to teachers of the same gender.
That concludes our report for tonight. We will now leave you with examples of skills and strategies that any teacher can implement, no matter their gender, in order to achieve effective classroom discipline. Have a great night.